All right, what up, everybody? What up? It is 7 o'clock, right on the dot. I know we're just a few minutes later than what we anticipated, but that is a-okay. We are live, and it is the latest episode of the Victorious POD. I am your host, Walters, and joining me is my good buddy, Jack. Jack, you can unmute yourself if you want, and you can say hello.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, I am joining.
All right. Why don't you say hi to all the lovely folks out there?
Fine. Hi, folks.
I know it's a tough chore, but somebody's got to do it. I mean, I can't do it all the time. So we are the Victorious POD, and we are coming to you live. We are a fantasy football podcast and a live stream. We are streaming every Thursday night here on YouTube. Be sure to check us out. You can also check us out on all of the major podcast platforms as well. So be sure to do that. Join us in our Discord. You can see the link to our Discord is in the link below and in the show notes as well. So make sure you do that. The reason it is important to join the Discord because later on in this show, we will be answering your questions that you post in the Discord. And it also allows you to join our voice channel and you can ask us a question in person. So please join the Discord. Jack, I don't think I have any other announcements except for, I mean, we can get into it later, but I don't want to right now. I just want to say thank you to Levi Oki for providing all of our beautiful artwork. You can find Levi Oki on Instagram at Levi Oki Illustrations. So go check out his work. Jack, why don't you tell me what's going on with you?
Just me personally, or
I mean, do you have any announcements? Do you have anything that you really want to share? I mean, the floor is yours.
Well, so I decided since every Sunday I pretty much do nothing but sit at home and watch football all day. Why not get paid for it? So this past weekend I actually picked up a once a week bartender gig on Sunday afternoons just at the bar in our town here. So I literally just stood there and gave people beers and watched the football game all day. So yeah. That's my only exciting announcement lately.
Well, congratulations on becoming a bartender.
I mean,
yeah, no, it's cool, man. Yeah. So, one thing that I wanted to mention real quick was I hit a deer with my car this past weekend, which was freaking sweet.
I saw that.
Yeah, if you were in the Discord, you could see all the lovely pictures that went along with it. Coming home with my father-in-law. From deer hunting, and we right on the main highway, pitch black, ran out right in front of us. I was able to maneuver enough to where I didn't totally destroy my car. The damage doesn't look too terrible, but you know, nonetheless, it is I mean, it gets your nerves going a little bit, especially now you're driving at night and deer are moving a little bit more. So that was my exciting thing over the weekend, but you know, everything is fine. Everybody's okay. And I believe I've fully recovered. So, mentally. So, well, that's another topic, but depending on who you ask,
at least to what you were before. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's still lots and lots of work to be done, but we're doing okay. One last thing, I just want to say thank you to all of our donors who have donated to us. Every donation you make goes towards bettering this program. So if you don't like what you see or hear right now, well, throw us some money and it might get better. So there's always that. I think that's about it. Jack, let's roll into our bits and bites. So what are you snacking on this week?
Not a whole lot of snacking. We just finished up dinner a little bit ago. So that was my snack for now. Otherwise, I'm just being bored and drinking water here. So, kind of a boring old day for the bites section for me.
Okay, all right. Well, that's okay. I, on the other hand, have upgraded my beer. I have something really nice here. This is Tropical Fun Pants. Let's see if I can get in the camera.
That's what the kids call me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is from a local brewery in our neck of the woods, Lupulin Brewing. It is a blonde ale with fruit. So we're just gonna. Oh,
ooh,
that's nice. Oh, she's definitely got some fruit, boys. Oh, it's going to be a go time tonight. All right, Jack, now that we're done, what's your bit?
Well, I heard you had a bet that you kind of wanted to switch it up for this week. Did you not?
Oh,
Or
yes,
do you?
absolutely, I do. So this here, this is this thing that I've been thinking about all week, and there are a lot of starters who did not play this week. For example, OBJ was actually cut from his team and is now signed with the new team. So that made, and you have Aaron Rodgers. He's out with COVID. Let's see here. How about Patrick Mahomes? Is he's not doing so well for your fantasy teams? I'm about ready to name Patrick Mahomes Patrick McCondos just because of how terrible he's been doing. So there's that. I could go Patrick Apartments, but it didn't. I liked McCondos better.
Yeah, that was my name.
But whatever. So I guess where I want to start with is how about OBJ? OBJ, is he better for your fantasy football team or is he better off of your fantasy football team? What are your thoughts on that? How about we start with that?
I think personally he's better off. I mean, he really hasn't done anything this year. I know he's had some injuries and stuff, but the last few years even he's just done nothing. So I feel like he's one of those guys that always takes higher draft capital and then never actually lives up to it. Like last year, I mean, I know he got hurt, but he was averaging, I think, 8 points a game, and that was on the back of a 28 or a 29-point game. Before that, the year before, he was wide receiver 30. I mean, I feel like you're waiting for that one or two big boom game. I know he's not with Cleveland anymore, but I don't really expect that to change. So I feel like it's almost more of you get stuck with 4 or 5 3-point weeks just to get a payoff and maybe get a 16 to 20-point week, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. How about as your regular football team? Do you feel that if you were a professional football player, you would rather have OBJ on your team or off of your team?
I wouldn't want the headache. I mean, I know the upside is great, but I mean, he is 29. He's had 2 pretty much most season injuries already where he's been out almost the entire year. So it's not like he's got the same upside. Can he still do it? Yes. If you're really, really needy and you feel like the only thing you're missing is wide receiver, I get it. But the only 2 teams he's been on, he's thrown a big tantrum and forced his way out of them. So it's is he ever going to be happy? I mean, he was the alpha in New York, and he said that's not good enough. We're doing bad. So then he goes to a team that's successful, but he's not the alpha, and he says, well, I want to be the alpha. So now he goes to a team again where he's not going to be the alpha, and it's on a good team. So it's just, I think you're going to get more drama than it's worth. Every week the news reporters are going to be talking about him and what did he do on the sideline when he was upset? Why did he only get 2 targets? I think it's going to hurt your locker room more, and it's going to make other players feel like they're not important. So I want no part of it.
Okay. Yep. Okay. How about we talk about a not so polarizing character in Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, obviously on your regular football team, is absolutely a must-have. He is he's a Super Bowl winner. But what would you be doing if you had Patrick Mahomes right now? Obviously, you're not going to cut him. We're not telling you that you have to cut Patrick Mahomes. But if there is a better streamer, would you be streaming Patrick Mahomes or would you be benching him and starting a streamer until he proves that he is back in the regular swing of things?
Me personally, no. I can't imagine there's a streamer every single week that's going to be better or give you the upside, I should say. I mean, I know he hasn't played up to his history and his talents necessarily, but I don't think you're going to you're hoping for a game of 18 to 20 points from a streamer. And I mean, Mahomes, even on his bad weeks, should be getting you at least in that range. So I think the only way that you're straight up just benching him is if you lucked into maybe getting another quarterback that we didn't really expect to be doing as well as they were. Any of the other top guys, if you were getting Mahomes, you were drafting him in the 3rd. So obviously you're not going to also have drafted Brady or Rodgers in the 6th or Russell Wilson or anything. So I mean, maybe if you had a Cousins in the right matchup, or if you had a Carson Wentz who's looking okay. But I mean, Mahomes is still the QB6 on the year, even for having a bad year. I mean, he's got, I don't know, 5-6 games over 20 points. I mean, yeah, he's had some down weeks, but I think you still got to keep him in. You could be doing a lot worse at quarterback. It just sucks using the draft capital where you had to take him.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. It's really, really tough to to bench Mahomes just with how good he has been. Let me throw out one thing that I thought about this week, and that has to do with um his his running back that he has. Now, when I'm looking at stats for Patrick Mahomes here, Patrick Mahomes is the last 3 games. He's had a week 7 at Tennessee. He had 7.74 points. At New York, he had 14, and then against Green Bay, he had 10 and a half. And I believe the game prior to the Tennessee game, he had a great game, 22.98, so 23 points, but it wasn't until the second half that that Mahomes picked it up. And I'm just looking here to see when Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been out. And I'm looking at his stats right now, and he's been out since week 6. Do you think that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming back, do you think that Patrick Mahomes will be able to return to form? And if he doesn't come back, do you think that he will continue this slump?
I expect Mahomes to come back to form regardless. I don't think CEH is the key, so to speak, or like the guy that's going to make it happen. I mean, Darrell Williams, who's filled in for him, has done pretty well as far as backups or just running backs in general go. And yes, it's nice to always have your starting guy, but it's not like CEH was this dominant force that defenses had to respect, and that's why. Like Mahomes was doing what he was doing before they even drafted CEH. So I do expect Mahomes to bounce back on that part, but I don't think it's going to be based on whether their running back comes back. I have to wonder if it's almost more of like Mahomes has some minor injury that we don't know about. Like, how like every year it seems like at the very end of the season, it's like, oh, so-and-so was playing on a fractured shin all season, or this person had a torn something in their shoulder, and like they just don't talk about it. I feel like you don't just fall off a cliff that much when you're the $500 million man. So I feel like maybe he's got some injuries, or maybe I know Tyreek's been dealing with them. So that combined with just their offensive line play, I think it's more of a one-off, but I don't expect Mahomes to just be like done moving forward.
Okay. Do you know how the Kansas City running game has done in general since CEH has been out? Like, not just like fantasy wise, but has it been decent?
I know Darrell Williams has done decently. I mean, let's see, the last 4 weeks that he was in, he had one down week, but 3 out of the 4 he had 62 yards, 49 yards, 70 yards, and then he had some receiving game in there, 27, 30, 61 yards. So
Okay.
he's done pretty well. I wouldn't say he's been like top end, but neither was CEH. So I feel like they're kind of about the same.
It was just, I mean, it was just a thought process that I had, as if, if your defenses don't have to worry about it. Not saying that CEH is great, because like Al is saying here in the chat, CEH is trash. Now, I mean, I don't know about that, but I'd also like to point out that the fantasy football hacks, they are in chat with us, and they said if they had Mahomes go off on their bench that they would throw up, which
Yes.
I get that. But like, at what point I'm not saying you should sit him. I'm telling you to look at the whole picture. Like, if you're losing weeks because Mahomes is not playing well, and I'm struggling with that right now in our league of record. I'm just trying to think about any little thing that it might be causing Mahomes not to be playing well. Injury that he's not disclosing is one of them, but I thought the more probable thing might have been like the running game in general. Like, if they're not having to defend against the running game, they're just going to be able to just to cover all of his wide receiver marks. I mean, if you look at receivers in general in Kansas City, it has been down since CEH has been out. It's just a fact. I mean, Kelsey's not doing as well. Tyreek's not doing as well. So, I mean, there is something to be said about CEH's lack of presence on the field lately. So, I think that's all I really had to mention about that. I'm not saying that CEH is the be all end all, but they need a running game to get them going. So, and then just one last quick one. Zach Wilson. are you better with him or without him on your regular football team? Because Mike White came in and he did fantastic, but then he got hurt, and then some guy named Josh Johnson came in, and I thought he actually looked pretty decent too for New York Jets football. You don't often see a lot of points, but that's what you got last week against Indy. So, what are your thoughts, real quick, on the Zach Wilson?
Yeah, I think it's tough because I mean he's clearly looked like, despite all the rookie quarterbacks not doing amazingly, he's clearly looked like the worst out of the five pretty easily. So the fact that he was taken at 2 when, like, Mac Jones is looking serviceable and like doing well game management wise, taking care of the football. Justin Fields had a rough start, but even he wasn't as bad as Wilson's been. So I mean, I don't think you draft the number 2 overall pick use it on a quarterback and then just give up on it. I think you unfortunately kind of got to stick with him at least for a couple years and see. But they also just recently drafted Sam Darnold to number 3 overall, and then gave him 2 or 3 years and then moved on. I think that's about the right amount of time. You kind of see if they develop or not after 3+ years. I wouldn't just say, oh, bench him and start with Mike White the rest of the way, because you're not in contention anyway. I mean, get the rookie the snaps that you can just to find out what you have. But I think more so it's just proving the point of, like, this was a bad call. Like, I mean, the third string quarterback, technically, this Johnson guy that came in, didn't even come into the game knowing he was starting, and he still had a higher fantasy point total than Wilson had in any of his 6 starts in the entire season. I know obviously we're talking regular football, but even so, like, he's turned it over a ton. He's had like low yardage totals. He's looked off. He hasn't been able to get it to their key playmakers. Not that there are many. So I think that would worry me, but you kind of got to just like go down with the ship. It's not like starting Mike White or Josh Johnson over Zach Wilson is going to be the difference in the Jets making the playoffs. You just gotta hope he pans out when he gets more reps.
Okay, cool. All right. That segment was way too long, and I'm sorry about that. Jack, I know I totally messed with your schedule, but I thought it was actually some really good football conversation. So we are actually going to be moving on into our next segment here real quick. It is going to be our NFL pick'em here. And yeah, so I mean that was a 12-minute segment. What do you think about that?
That's fine. I mean, we combine the 2 of ours. Usually we try to keep that one a little shorter, but it's good talks, and we'll shorten up some of these other spots to make it back quick.
Yeah, I hear you. Here we go. All right.
So, well, I'll rattle off. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I have a nice little picture up on the screen for our NFL.
Ooh.
So there is that.
Pictures of you. Anyway.
Yes. So, as you can tell, we have a nice little board. And Jack, I'm going to allow you to let us know what happened this last week. So go ahead and go for it.
All right. Last week we had myself and Foster both get Dallas over Denver incorrect. Walters, you had the Colts over the Jets, along with no one, just you. That was a good pick. You got that correct. Connor had Miami over Houston along with Brandon. They both got that right. Alex, inversely, had Houston over Miami and was wrong. Garlic had Cincinnati over the Browns. He was wrong. Jag had the Bears over Steelers. They pulled it off last second. The Steelers did, so he got that wrong. And Luke, because he didn't get his pick in last time, had the Jets over the Colts, which was wrong. So only 3 people got it right. We are now up to Walters at 5-1. I think about 3 of you guys are at 4-2. Jag, Brandon, Alex, and Connor. Just kidding. I'm at 3-3, and then the remaining guys, Foster, Garlic, and Luke, are at 2-4.
Yep. So on the screen, you guys can see all of the picks that have been made that are correct and incorrect. And on the very right, you can also see how many we have gotten correct. So that's a nice little thing there. What are you picking for week 10? And also, I just wanted to say this. If you're not in the Discord and you don't get your pick in time, you're automatically getting the New York Jets, unless you've already picked them. And then I'm going to be just giving you like Jacksonville then. Like, you're going to get the worst teams. So, I mean, that's...
You still get a shot.
You get a shot, but it's not going to help. Yeah, so there is that. Jack, what do we have going on for week 10 here in the NFL?
This week, I went with one that seems to be a popular pick this week. Myself, Alex, Foster, all went with Pittsburgh over Detroit. We then had Luke go with the Chiefs over the Raiders. We had Brandon go with the Colts over the Jaguars. Garlic said he needed a sure thing, so he picked the Chargers over the Vikings. You traitor. Connor also went with the Colts over the Jaguars, and that leaves it to you.
How does Garlic feel being tied last in this NFL pick'em? Him and his great
I mean, if you
mind.
asked him and if he's actually listening, he would say that he was correct all of the weeks that we didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I have to give him credit for that. He just kind of got shafted by me being out and us not keeping it going. So, Garlic, I'm saying this now so that I don't hear you whining about it later.
Well, Garlic, get scammed, and I don't care. So there is that. So
Walters just checks to see if Garlic gets it right each week and then decides we're not doing it that week. That's what happens.
This is probably true, and I'm editing all of that out. Week 10, I am also going with the favorite pick, and I will have you know that I have no idea what people are picking because Jack gets the notes up in time for the show, and that's about it. So this morning I looked and I saw Pittsburgh was playing Detroit. I have it right up there on the screen. So Pittsburgh is going to be my pick this week. So
Pittsburgh. Huh.
Pittsburgh it is. All right. So
all right,
we are going to be moving into our next one. And one sec here.
Downtime, fill in the sounds of silence. Beep it bop bop doo boo boo.
There we go. All right, we are doing swimming upstream, and now we can come back onto the scene here. There we go. All right, Jack, what happened in swimming upstream last week? Who did we
It wasn't good, man. I I initially picked Tua, and then like literally Sunday morning we saw you mentioned it that he wasn't playing. So I guess officially we can go with your pick of Derek Carr since mine didn't have an option. I then subbed to another pick, but everybody did terribly this week, it felt like. So your pick of Derek Carr got us 10.3 against the Giants. We kind of both thought that they would do better, but he had 3 turnovers, so that kind of derailed the fantasy day, so to speak. Really, Matt Ryan was the only other one that you would have even considered starting that did well. He had a really big day, surprisingly, but it was not a great week of streamers. I even said that last week, where in my notes it just said not feeling hot about any of the options this week. So hopefully you had some better options in your league.
Okay. One question here, real quick. So are we going with what you wanted to pick with on Sunday, or like because I made the official pick, the pick that you picked in Discord. But so,
my bad. No, I was just saying that one just to compete against you. I figured if I don't get my first pick, then it just would default to yours.
Oh, we can do that. That's totally cool. This is your bit, so we'll do it your way. I will have to update the spreadsheet, but I can't do it right now. So officially last week we did have Derek Carr then. Okay, I like it. So I mean, if the first guy can't go,
I made
then the
my
other guy
sub
goes.
pick while I was literally at work at the bar. So we'll go with your official record one. I just kind of threw one out there, just to compete against each other.
Cool.
Sounds good. We'll update it more next week of what the numbers are again. But needless to say, even with Carr and his 10.3 points, we're going down a little bit. This was our tough week. As far as week 10 goes, I also continue to dislike most of the options. There's not a whole lot of upside with any of them, really. But the guy that apparently I should have picked last week, I'm going to double down, on him this week and see if we can actually put 2 good starts together.
Can we hold up for just one second?
Yeah.
My audio engine is just kind of taking a giant poop right now. So what I need to do is we're just going to pause the stream. I'm going to restart my audio engine, and we're going to pick her right back on up. So I'm just going to throw a B right back up here for just a second. And we'll continue on. So just give me a sec.
Okay.
Okay, Jack, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Am I crackly? Do I sound okay?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay, you sound great too. All right. We are gonna
Oh,
get back. We are gonna get right back into it. So I apologize to the live stream there. I'm sorry about that. You were saying about who we're gonna pick up this week, and before we do, I just want to go over real quick for week 9 the top 12 quarterbacks real quick. Actually, I'm just going to list off the top 5. So Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Matt Ryan, Josh Johnson, and Carson Wentz were your top 5. Also a note on there, like Teddy Bridgewater, Jimmy Garoppolo, Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield, all top 12 quarterbacks this week. So it was really strange week for that. And we are sitting in currently 9th place with 165.68 points. And your top, oh boy, I'm going to say your top 12 season long quarterbacks has got to be it's Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Matt Stafford, Lamar Jackson. So right now those are your top 4, and then Josh Allen number 5. So Jack, who are we going to be picking this week? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I'm not loving most of the options this week, but I just don't think a lot of them have any upside really. I think best case you're getting like that 20-point range. I'm going to go though with the guy that I probably should have picked last week and just hope that he actually strings together 2 decent games, and that is going to be Matt Ryan. He's been very, very boomer bust this year, but he had a good week last week. He gets Dallas this week, whose defense is terrible, and their offense is really good. So I'm expecting it to be a high scoring matchup. So I think he's had 300 plus yards in 3 out of the last 4 games. He's throwing it a lot despite not even having Ridley. So, I mean, maybe he just keeps taking some deep shots down the field, and we'll pull something together, but I'm not holding out hope for a lot of the options this week.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We are going to be moving into our next segment, which is actually it's the tailgate zone, which is a whole lot of fun. I saw that Jack has left. Cool. I saw that in the Discord, Alex, he was posting something like, should our commissioner be fired? And he said that this was for podcast talk or only, but like, I don't know, like if he meant in Discord only, or if he wanted us to talk about it live on the air. But what are your thoughts on firing our current commissioner in our league of record, Mr. Tyler?
First, real quick, the reason I left was because Al makes a great point that we should be having beers during all of our tailgate zones. So there we go. Had to go run and get a beer out of the fridge quick. As far as Al's first question, even though our commissioner Tyler voted for firing himself, I would say no. I think he does a lot of stuff and he does a good job about tossing out rules and bringing things up. I think if you're a commissioner, the key thing is just to not make a lot of changes yourself, especially when you're actually in a committed league, like a league that's been around for, I don't know, 10 plus years like ours has. I think when you get to that point with the right group of people, it's just like opening it up and, having votes, listening to your league members, which he does a really good job of. He organizes the draft order, the actual draft itself every year. So I'm a big fan. I like Tyler being our commissioner, even though he probably won't hear this because he doesn't listen. But hey, that's okay. That's my only criticism.
Wait, Tyler our commissioner does not listen to our podcast about his league.
I just have to assume. I mean, he very well might. And if he hears this, he can call me out and tell me I'm wrong and a duty head. But that's just my guess until proven otherwise.
If he's not listening, then fire him, because there should be absolutely no reason that the commissioner of our fantasy football league is not listening to a podcast dedicated to the greatest fantasy football league in the world. So there's that. So hashtag fire Tyler. We're going to get it going. We're going to get it trending. So let's go.
Wait. I didn't sign up for that. I was for Tyler. I feel like I got roped into this. I'm sorry.
Well, you're along for the ride. So let's go. All right. There is another question here in the Discord. What is it that is going on?
The next question that we had in the Discord was from Tyler himself. He was talking about kind of on the same topic as yours a little bit earlier, but he was talking about struggling players and just at what point you start to give up on the season. I mean, I know we're through 9 weeks now, so guys like Allen Robinson, he was drafted in the 3rd round and supposed to be another locked-in wide receiver 1, and he's barely even a 3 at this point. Like CEH, I mean, I know he's been injured, but he still hasn't taken that next step. Julio, who's injured every single week. OBJ, who, like, these guys that you're expecting to have big points and then they're just not getting it done. He was saying, at what point do you think it's just time to give it up and, like, either straight up drop them or just, stop waiting for that moment? Do you have a point in the season? I'll let you take this one.
Oh gosh, this is tough. I mean, it's like Allen Robinson. Obviously, he is a wonderful wide receiver. I don't think I could drop him. Like, unless I absolutely had to, I don't drop him. I bench him, but I don't drop him. So, I mean, just like players like that, like, he has the ability to make plays, and I don't know if it's the scheming, if it's the coaching, if it's the quarterback. Did Allen Robinson and Justin Fields, did they go get breakfast together? I have no idea. Maybe, probably not. But you don't drop players like that. CEH, he's a starting running back. Is he great? No, fantasy, he's not good. He's not a good running back. And he has not lived up to his potential where he's been drafted. But he does provide value to your team. So you move on with him by putting him on your bench and then finding a replacement. But you also have to realize that replacement that you're replacing him with is not necessarily always going to get you more points than the player that you are benching. Any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I guess it's just kind of, you got to try to take the names out of it and just look at production. And I mean, if I feel like 9 weeks into the season is enough to figure out if a player is going to do something or not, barring like a scheme change or another player gets hurt or whatever. But I feel like you have enough data at this point to tell. So, I mean, taking the names out of it and being like, oh yeah, but like OBJ used to be like a wide receiver 1 every year. Yeah, that was like 4 or 5 years ago. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily drop somebody, and like you said, unless you have the capital to like make it worth it. Like if there's somebody that's that much better on the waiver wire and you just can't drop anybody else, I get it. But I still at the same time feel like it's a lot easier just to bench them and be like, I have the mentality of like, I'm giving up on you. You are staying on my bench until you finally do something and then I'll start you again. But I don't know that I would drop somebody. It's tough to drop somebody that you drafted with like the, first 5 or 6 rounds.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
So that's it.
All right. Like I've said before, join the Discord, ask us questions, and we will answer them here definitely on the pod. Getting caught up with chat. Tom Brady, the GOAT down in Tampa Bay, is asking us saying that we both need green screens. The butterflies must be why you're losing in your league. And just to point out that the butterflies that are on my wall are from the previous owner of the house, and we just haven't really done much with this room down here. So we've never really redecorated down there. So
I was like, I don't have any butterflies.
Yeah, there's
on
butterflies on the back. I know I need a new backdrop, so it will get there eventually. So thank you so much everybody for watching and listening and interacting with us. We absolutely love that. So we are going to be moving on to our next portion of the podcast, which is our League of Record, the Victoria's Secret. We talk about stuff dedicated to our league, but it does have a lot of discussion about fantasy players who are also might be on your team. So it is still absolutely imperative that I don't know if I use that word right, but it's imperative that you keep watching and listening. So we're gonna transition. All right. We have our matchup recaps. Last week, Jack, you and I face each other and I lost. What the hell? Do you want to explain that?
Oh, just so happy. The upset that I was tied for last coming into the wet matchup, and you were, I think, number 1 seed. So huge upset. Didn't see that one coming, but James Conner, you're my MVP.
I was just gonna say that. James freaking Conner. Are you kidding me right now? 35 points. Jesus. Please run out into traffic. Jesus. All right. I lost Jack had 108.02 to my 98.94. My top players were Nick Chubb, Devonta Smith, and Minnesota defense. Jack, you had James Conner, Ryan Tannehill, and
that's it.
Cordero Patterson. Holy hell, Cordero Patterson, a top 3 player on your team, and I still freaking lose. Awesome. All right, moving on. Alex faced Cassie in a nail biter of a game. Alex beat Cassie 79.88 to 79.18. Cassie had Dak Prescott, Dalvin Cook, and the Arizona defense as their top 3 players. Alex had Jalen Hurts, Jordan Howard, and good old Bobby Trees, Robert Woods. All right, moving on. Foster faced Cassie, and Foster had the low score of the week, which Foster probably is just thinking, what the hell just happened? Foster had 53.36 to Katie's 85.84. Katie had Justin Herbert, the Houston defense, and Justin Tucker as her top 3 players. Foster had Josh Allen. If your top player is Josh Allen, you had a real terrible fantasy week because Josh Allen scored you 9.56 points. That is god awful. All right, so Josh Allen, Elijah Mitchell, and Damian Williams. Is it Damian Williams? Is that the KC running back?
Oh no, that's Daryl. Daryl's
Williams?
Casey.
Okay, Daryl Williams. So there you go. Moving on, Jordan versus Ryan. Jordan beat Ryan 72.9 to Ryan's 58.04. A lot of low scores this week. Ryan had Derek Carr, Myles Gaskin, and Ezekiel Elliott as his top 3 players. Jordan's top player was the Miami defense, then Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey. Moving on, Ben faced Josh 92.06 to 84.68. Josh had Carson Wentz, Najee Harris, and Michael Pittman Jr. as his top 3 players. Ben had Jonathan Taylor, George Kittle, and Matt Stafford. And our final matchup, Tyler, the commissioner, beat Jay 89.54 to 80.68. Jay's top 3 players were New England defense, Alvin Kamara, Graham Gano, and then Tyler had Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon, and Jamal Williams. Any thoughts or any thing that you would like to mention before we move on with that?
I said that actually in our group message this past weekend, but I feel like it had to be one of the lowest collective total scores that our league's ever had. It just apparently was a down week for a lot of fantasy options. I mean, I had a respectful point total, but being the only one over 100 was pretty insane. So yeah, just kind of a weird week. A lot of upsets, a lot of surprises for just disappointing scores, but that's fantasy.
Yeah, that is definitely a tough one. Let's see here. I was just looking at my stream deck to see if there was something different I could do, but there's not. All right. Moving on here, we have our standings, and I never wrote down my timestamp. Dang it. Fine. All right. Our standings, we have Tyler and Jordan sitting at the top of our standings. They are 7-2, followed by me and Ben at 6-3, followed by Foster at 5-4, followed by Jay, Josh, and Katie at 4-5. Ryan, Jack, and Al sitting at 3-4, and then Cassie sitting at 2-7. You can see on the bottom half that I have the most points for and the second most points against. Your thoughts, Jack?
I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. So it's at least you're consistent. But yeah, no, I feel like for the most part, the standings is kind of what it should be. I think I've had some rough luck, and there's a couple of people that are higher up that I'm surprised at their records. But I feel like the top 3 or 4 of you guys, it makes sense. It's what I would have expected.
Okay. Right on. We are going to be moving into our next segment here, and that is the ad drops. This week, Tyler spent $37 on Brandon Ayuk. Let's see here. Jack, you also put in for him, and so did Foster. Foster thought he could get away with a 0 bid on Brandon Ayuk, but $37 of your fab going to Brandon Ayuk. Thoughts on that? Did he overpay?
Pass. I mean, that's a lot, but at the same time, it's later in the season. There's not a ton of people that are going to be opening up. I think he's finally kind of started to turn the corner a little bit. So, I mean, maybe if you really need a wide receiver, but I don't think in most leagues you would have to spend that to get Ayuk after his season so far.
Something that I find really interesting here. All right, so Tyler also got the next player, Elijah Moore, on this list. He picked him up for $22. So Tyler has spent nearly $60 of his fab on wide receivers for this week. That's a lot of scratch. And what are your thoughts on Elijah Moore going forward?
I mean, I really like him dynasty wise, but I don't know that I would be relying on him as like a wide receiver 2 going forward. I think maybe he's like a flex that's going to be a boomer bust. I mean, you're still banking on the Jets offense moving the ball. So I think he's a good filler flex if you don't really have a lot of options with injuries and stuff, but he's not going to be a plug and play, just locked in receiver week after week, I don't think.
Okay. And one of the most interesting things, I would also agree with all of that as well. One last point that I wanted to get here. Tyler had 3 of the top bids. Now, he tried to pick up Pat Fryermuth. The Muth is Luth, for $22. However, I see that it was unsuccessful because a player involved has already been dropped. So Tyler was not able, even though he had the high bid, he did not get the player. But do you know who did get him? Let's see here. I see it here. Where did it go? Oh, yeah, it was Josh. You know how much you got Pat Fryermuth for? $0. A $0 bid got probably one of the hottest tight ends right now in fantasy football. So congratulations to Josh. If you have Fryermuth, are you just setting him and forgetting him, Jack? What are your thoughts on Fryermuth? And then we'll move on.
I mean, if you've been streaming tight end all year, I would. He's done really well the last 2 weeks, but that's also been with Chase Claypool banged up a little bit, and then what's his face, their other tight end, Eric Ebron, being out the other couple of weeks, which he's announced to be back now. So I expect Fryermuth to still be good, but I don't know that he's going to be like a top 5 tight end like he has been playing. I mean, if you've got nobody, I think, yeah, you set him in and forget about it. But if you've got somebody else that's on the border, like I don't know, a Hawkinson or a Goddard or a Gesicki, like I think I'd still probably start them over him.
For sure. I think with Claypool being out for a while, you will be able to see his targets go up along with Deontay Johnson's, but we can get into that in a little bit. So I don't think I have anything else here, so I think we're just going to be moving on to our next segment unless you got something else.
Nope.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, moving on to our next. Let's see here. I need to go to this one actually. Perfect. Okay. So these the games are already taking place, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the overlay correct yet, but we're getting there. So we're just gonna talk about we can see the top flex players and stuff like that, so we're not gonna see the defense and kicker. But Katie is facing Tyler this week, and Jack, what are your thoughts? What are your concerns about this matchup? If there's anything that's exciting or concerning to you, what do you have? What do you have for us?
For Katie versus Tyler?
That is correct. Katie versus Tyler.
Okay. Just making sure. I guess my first concern would be just for Tyler in general, because if he is silly and dumb and wins this matchup, then he's gonna have to sleep on the couch. So Tyler, I'm looking out for you. I don't want that to happen. As far as like their actual matchups themselves, looking into this more, I am not loving Tyler's running backs or his wide receivers this week. I mean, AJ Brown's about the only one that obviously you're starting without question, but he's got some issues with like bye weeks and Mixon and Jamar Chase both being out, and then him obviously losing Derrick Henry recently. So not feeling great. I mean, Freeman's had some leash lately with the Ravens, but Javonte Williams is a question mark. He's looked really, really good lately. I just don't know if the Broncos are going to be smart and let him be the guy over Melvin Gordon. And then Marvin Jones has done nothing. Ayuk, you're hoping he does something, but I'm not feeling as confident as like when he's at full strength, because Katie's side looks a lot better there. Katie needs to actually like sub in her correct lineup though, because she has Metcalf on her bench after the bye. She has Chris Carson coming back from IR. and she didn't have Hawkinson earlier when I looked. So I think if she puts those guys in, I'll feel a lot better. But I would not be surprised if Katie upset Tyler this week, even though Tyler's been one of the top teams. So I think this could end up being a surprising one.
Who are you taking out? Like, so are you going to play DK over Julio? I mean, I would. So
I would play DK over Julio or even over Pollard. I would sub in, if Carson is healthy, I would sub in Carson for Pollard, DK over Julio, and then probably leave it there just because Julio is such a question mark, whereas at least Mike Williams he's been down a little bit lately, but he's still got more of an upside than Julio's shown. So that is what I would do.
Okay. All right.
And also her defense is on bye.
Okay. And then there's nothing really. I mean, Tyler's got his best lineup out there, so there's nothing there.
That's all you can do.
Yep. All right. Moving on here, we are going to be moving to Jordan versus Cassie. As of right now, it looks like Cassie is beating Jordan, but Jordan is projected 100.5 to Cassie's 97.4. Is there anything exciting or concerning about this matchup that you'd like to share with the class?
My Sure, with the class. I brought enough for everybody.
Perfect.
My big couple of things, I guess one on each side would be Jordan just has a lot of question marks this week. I mean, he's got Russell Wilson in his lineup. Russell said himself that he was going to play. The team still hasn't officially cleared him. So, I mean, whether he plays or not is going to be a big factor. I think he's got no other quarterbacks really on his team right now, unless you count Taysom Hill, who he's not starting. So Jordan needs Russell to start. At the same time with CMC, there's reports that the Panthers just signed Cam Newton today, so whether he ends up being the starter or not, I think that could take away from some CMC goal line carries. OBJ joining the Rams is going to obviously affect Cooper Kupp to an extent. So there's a lot of question marks that we just aren't going to know how like three of his top players are going to do this week. So Jordan could easily score only 80 if luck is against him, or he could be above 100. So on Cassie's side of the ball, I love her running backs way more this week collectively. But you're also going to have to wonder if, we won't get into it, but the reports about Dalvin Cook and his off the field stuff going on, is that going to be like hanging over his head? Maybe will that affect his play at all just because, extra curricular, like outside distractions and everything. So I think if he does well, I think him and Swift are going to be really, really good for Cassie. And again, I feel like an upset could be in the cards this week. I mean, it's inverse records of Jordan being 7-2 and Cassie being 2-7, but she's a very, very good 2-7 team, and I could easily see the upset happening this week.
Right on. All right. So just one thing I wanted to point out here. I see that Cassie has Nyheim Hines in her flex, but I see that Jacoby Myers or Kenyon Drake is sitting on her bench. Would you be willing to play any of those players over Nyheim Hines, or is he the better play this week?
It's tough because he just went out and got like 16.8 points. I mean, he had a couple of big breakaway runs, but them going against the Jaguars, they could be up early and, run the ball more, and maybe Jonathan Taylor gets some like rest. So I don't think it's a bad flex play. I don't think I would start Kenyon Drake necessarily. I think he's kind of like a low upside. He'll probably get you 6-7 points. Jacoby Myers is a possibility, but he's had a couple of down weeks lately. Like he really hasn't gotten over 10 points yet. So I don't hate the Nyheim Hines pick. I think receptions at least will probably guarantee him getting 5, 6, 7 points. And if he does what he did last week, he could have a touchdown in there too.
Okay, one last one. I see on Cassie's bench that Logan Thomas actually has projected points this week. If Logan Thomas is cleared to play, are you playing him over Dalton Schultz?
Probably not. He'd probably be one of those guys where I'm going to do like a wait and see and make sure he gets back healthy. I mean, today he was at practice, but he was working off on the side, so he's not even back to practicing. So you're talking like a 5+ week absence right now, where he's barely like on the borderline of whether he even gets activated at this point. And I just would be a little bit concerned. Whereas Schultz has been doing well. He's had a good season, a little bit down recently, but again, they're playing the Cowboys and I expect that to be an embarrassing lack of defense on both ends. So I'd probably do one more week, and then I do like Logan Thomas more long-term this season.
Okay. All right, one last thing to point out. Cassie does have Odell Beckham Jr. on her squad.
No chance.
Yeah, he's not playing this week. Do not play OBJ. Wait till next week. So for all of you who have OBJ, do not play OBJ this week.
I mean, he's likely to play on Monday, but I wouldn't start him yet. It's going to be too new to a new system and everything.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Moving on.
All right.
We have Alex versus Josh. As of right now, it looks like it looks like Josh is going to win easily over Alex. Josh projected 109.7 to Alex's 90. What do you see in this matchup?
Yeah, I don't know if that's like completely realistic because right now, there's a couple of question marks on Alex's team for who's gonna play and get some points. I know Gibson's a question mark right now, but I think Josh probably has the edge here. They're both kind of fighting to stay alive at this point. I mean, I think they're 3-6 and 4-5. So if either one of them loses, this could be enough to be like pretty much ending your playoff chances. Josh getting Dearness Johnson picked up, or he might have already had him previously, but with the news that Chubb might be out this week and Dearness Johnson being the only healthy running back, that's a really, really nice pickup there. All four of their starting receivers all feel pretty equal and good. I mean, I feel like Diggs and Tyreek Hill, they're both ones that have kind of underperformed, and then Thielen and Pittman have actually been the kind of surprises that have been doing better. So I feel like that should pretty much wash, but I give Josh the edge at running back, so that'll probably be the difference maker. I think the only way that I really see Alex winning is if Jalen Hurts, his quarterback, returns to his old ways of just kind of dominating, whether in the fourth quarter or in general. He's had a couple of really down last couple of weeks where he just hasn't pulled it together. So I think Al's going to need another like 22 to 25 plus point performance for him to take it. Otherwise, I think Josh is going to have a pretty easy day.
One thing I see on Alex's matchup, Jalen Hurts is projected 19 and a half points. Are you going to take the over or the under on that? Like, do you see Jalen Hurts finishing more likely to finish below that or above that?
I think he's of the two more likely to finish above it. I think just his rushing ability alone. I mean, he's been getting a lot of carries up until these last couple of weeks, but even if he gets like 40, 50 rushing yards, I mean, that means he's got to get, say he gets 50 rushing yards and he doesn't get a touchdown. He's down to 14 points. All that is what, like 200 yards and then 250 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I think that's definitely doable. Of the two, I would take the over, but these last 2 weeks have been concerning because he's not been able to really do anything. So we will see.
One thing that I wanted to point out for Josh's team, he is starting Carson Wentz. He is going for the quarterback wide receiver stack with Michael Pittman. But on his bench, I see that he has Aaron Rodgers on the bench. Are you starting Carson Wentz over Aaron Rodgers? And if you're going to keep both quarterbacks for the rest of the season, are you simply going based off of matchup between both of these quarterbacks, or is Aaron Rodgers just the set it and forget it player?
I mean, this week it makes sense because Rodgers hasn't even been cleared from like the COVID protocols and stuff yet. So I get just not wanting to mess around with it. But if Rodgers is healthy, I think you start him. I mean, the only bad weeks he's had really was his first week when the whole Packers offense imploded, and then last week against Arizona, which is a top defense, and he didn't have Devontae Adams. So, I mean, every other week, their whole offense is at full strength. He's great. Carson Wentz has been surprising and like done better than most people thought, but I would still take Rodgers if he's healthy, no question.
Yeah, I kind of follow that same sentiment. I mean, Carson Wentz has been awesome in matchups that are plus matchups, but he's also had some not that Aaron Rodgers hasn't either, but I don't know. I feel like the ceiling is definitely higher with Aaron Rodgers, so I would probably go forward with him for the rest of the season, but we will definitely have to see. All right, we are moving on to Jay versus Ryan. As of right now, Ryan is beating Jay 0 to 0.3, so Ryan with a 0.3 point lead. Ryan is projected 96.7 to Jay's 91.3. Jack, what are you looking at in this matchup here?
I'm looking at that Jay doesn't have a kicker, so I think it'll actually be a little bit higher. I would lean Jay, but this is, again, kind of the same type of matchup where it's two teams that are on the border, so to speak. They both need a win pretty badly here to stay in the hunt and get remain or hop up above 500. Ryan's currently rostering 3 quarterbacks, so I have no idea what's happening. He's got Derek Carr. He has Kyler on the bench, who I get is injured ? But he also is still holding on to Kirk Cousins. So, I mean, I feel like Cousins and Carr are basically the same at this point. They're high-end streamers. I would cut one and try to find a spot somewhere else. You don't need both. You probably don't even need any once Kyler's healthy again. That being said, I think if Kyler doesn't come back, Jay has the huge advantage at quarterback with Brady. I mean, I know Carr's had some good games, but Ryan's going to need the upside of Kyler's rushing to stay in this one. On Jay's side, I know Kamara has missed the last 2 days of practice, so I think that's a question mark that could be like a sneaky last-minute inactive, so to speak. So with no Kamara, I mean, no first-round pick, that's going to be tough. Even if Kamara plays, I like Jay's running back matchups a lot more with at least Zeke and Henderson going up against some so-so defenses. So I think I do like Ryan's chance there. But overall, I think Jay's team is just a lot more consistent across the board. So assuming Kamara plays and or Kyler doesn't play for Ryan, I'm going Jay here easily.
Okay. Yeah, I would pick Jay as well. How if Kyler Murray does not play this week, are you okay playing Derek Carr over Kirk Cousins? Do you think it's I mean,
Yep.
the matchup is obviously better because the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs is just atrocious. It's terrible. But I feel like the weapons that Minnesota has are definitely better than what the Las Vegas Raiders have. So I think that I would be more comfortable starting Kirk Cousins, even though that our offense has sputtered the last few weeks. I still think that Kirk Cousins has a higher ceiling than what Derek Carr has. So, and at this point, with Ryan being 3-6 in 9th place, like I don't know if he's giving up, but if at this point, you're putting in all of your players to try and maximize on their ceiling. And I think Kirk Cousins has a higher ceiling than what Derek Carr has. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think in similar matchups, I would take Cousins over Carr just for the weapons, like you said. But I mean, this week, Carr is going up against Kansas City, who's been abysmal on defense. They can't stop anybody, whereas the Chargers are the second toughest against quarterbacks in fantasy. So for that reason, I would go Carr. But otherwise, I feel like they're about even. So I would sway Cousins if they were both kind of going against middle of the road defenses.
Okay. All right. Cool. We are moving on to our next matchup, which is Foster versus Jack. And currently, Jack, you are winning, man. 6 to 1.5.
I got 6 points from my defense. I don't know if that means a lot. They got 1 sack so far, so I'm in the lead.
You are actually projected 99.5 points to Foster's 112.8. Foster's had a down week the last couple of weeks, a couple L's in a row. And, well, you're currently on a winning streak against the best team in the Victoria's Secret Fantasy Football League. What do you see in this matchup, man?
I see that it sucks that I'm going up against the highest projected point total this week when I'm holding on to the last strings of my playoff chances. That being said, Josh Allen's projected at 27, which is definitely doable going up against the Jets, but he's had a couple of down weeks recently. So I think that's a very high projection. Usually you see quarterbacks at more of like the 22 plus range, and they certainly can score over that, but that's a very high projection coming in. So, I mean, there's more room for busting on that projection than there is for him to exceed it. So that gives me some hope. I actually like my running backs surprisingly more just based on matchups. I mean, if you heard Leonard Fournette and Elijah Mitchell, you would assume that versus James Conner and Cordero Patterson. But we're talking the running back 6 and the running back 8 on the year for my 2 guys there. And they've got some good matchups this week. It sounds gross to say, but I think his receivers will probably wipe the floor with mine. I do expect Connor to have a really, really good week, though, A, going up against Carolina, and B, with Chase Edmonds out. So I think that's going to have to be my hope, as he's going to need to get a lot of volume, especially with Kyler hurting. Overall, I think it really just will come down to whether Josh Allen dominates. I mean, our QB battle is listed as him getting over 10 points more than Ryan Tannehill. So if I can find a way to close the gap, even with a Tannehill good game or a Josh Allen disappointment, that'll be my only key to success. And then really the only other big storyline is it's 2 elite tight ends going up to head-to-head right now with his tight end 2, Mark Andrews, to my tight end 1, Travis Kelce. So if I can find a way to like have Kelce come back to life and dominate that matchup, those will be the two that only really give me the only chances to win.
I see in your flex spot, and you can't do anything about it anymore because the
Yeah.
game has started. You have started Jalen Waddle, and I see on your bench that you have Mike Davis and Rashad
Bleh.
Bateman.
Bleh.
Yes. Okay. All right. I just wanted
Neither
to.
of them have. Yeah, neither of them have done a lot, and at this point, I'm just kind of chasing volume. Waddle over the last 4 games he's played has had 13, 8, 11, and 10 targets. So they've just been feeding the ball to him like crazy, especially with Will Fuller being out and then Devontae Parker being banged up. So I'm hoping that like with all that volume, eventually there's going to come some bigger scoring weeks, and he has the athletic ability to take it to the house. So I'm kind of just rolling the dice. I didn't want to start him in my flex spot, but the only reason I did that was just because the other 2 guys are locked up, and I didn't really have somebody I was going to sub them out for. So pretty much knew that was going to have to be my flex guy coming into the week, and it's not great, but there's nobody else on the bench that I'm taking a chance at starting over him. So we will see.
Starting your Thursday night player in your flex, you're going to get a lot of flack from Alex. So, I mean,
That's fine.
Be prepared. All
I'm
right,
used to that.
One last thing I just wanted to talk about real quick on Foster's side. He has Darrell Williams going, but I also see on his bench that he has he's got Corey Davis. He's got Emmanuel Sanders on the bench. He's also got Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Do you like any of those players over Darrell Williams this week?
No. The rest of them are all question marks. At least Darrell Williams is going to get the volume. And if he doesn't, he's got CEH on his bench too. So, I mean, he'll just sub one out for the other. I think either of them going up against Las Vegas is a much better pick. So I would have done the same thing as Foster.
Emmanuel Sanders versus the Jets? I mean, come on.
I mean, he's still got to contend with 2 other great receiving options there that get a lot of targets. And I expect them to be up by so much, they're not going to throw the ball a lot. So I would still go with Williams personally.
Who is the other receiving target that you're talking about?
Diggs, and then Beasley just gets a ton of targets. He doesn't like put up the high touchdowns or yards, but he gets 5 to 7 targets every game too. So it's not like Sanders is getting, even like a clear 2 workload, so to speak. So
if you have Beasley or Sanders to choose from, which one of those 2 are you picking?
In a standard league, probably Sanders, just because all the targets don't do a lot for me. But I guess it would also depend on if you kind of need more of the upside, or if you just need to get like some safe points. Like Beasley's the kind of guy that's going to get you like 6 every week. So probably Sanders, but it's not like it's a huge difference maker.
Okay, no, that's cool. I just throwing it out there. So I don't think I have anything else on here, so I'm going to
last matchup.
Yeah, let's do my matchup here. I am facing Ben. I am projected to win 96.3 to 87.9. I don't know why I get all the green check marks, but apparently I do. I haven't figured this out yet. ESPN is so freaking weird. I don't get it, but whatever. I'm looking at it, and I think this matchup could go either way. You have 2 great quarterbacks. You have 2 main running backs who are good, and then you have trash after that. You have, I think I win the wide receiver battle, and he obviously crushes me in the tight end battle. What are you seeing here that's noteworthy?
Yeah, I pretty much everything you just said. I won't repeat all of that, but you guys are both kind of in the similar boat where you're struggling with bye weeks and injuries. So these teams are better than this week's starting lineups look, so to speak. I definitely agree with your receivers a lot more, though Godwin is questionable to play this week. So I think missing him is going to hurt a lot, but Deontay Johnson and Debo, I would still take over any of his 3 receivers. I think it'll kind of come down to whether Godwin plays, and then if Kittle dominates again, like he did when he came back last week. But it's interesting. You're both 6-3, so this could be a key game for either of you.
Percent chance that Alexander Madison plays the main role this weekend in Minnesota?
15.
Okay. All right. Now, if Chris Godwin is out, on my bench, I have Devonta Smith, Marquez Callaway, and Tyler Johnson. I picked him up today to possibly replace Chris Godwin. Are one of those 3 receivers? Who would you pick out of them?
I would go Devonta Smith just after his big game last week and at least having volume versus whoever is going to be throwing the ball in New Orleans. And I'm not starting Tyler Johnson no matter what.
So if Chris Godwin doesn't play, that means that you've got Mike Evans. So I mean the option for Tyler Johnson, I mean, I think the opportunity could be there, but I agree with you that Devonta Smith, who is the clear number one in Philadelphia, even though his quarterback is way less effective in the past than what Tom Brady is. I feel like Devonta Smith definitely has the higher upside, and I would be slotting him in over Godwin if Godwin does not play. One last question I have for you. Rob Gronkowski, apparently he looks out. I thought he was playing. I guess he is not, so never mind. That doesn't even matter. So I won't be talking about him anymore.
No, that's all I got. For that one.
I don't think I have anything else either. I think that does all of our matchups. How would you feel if you had to start Michael Gallup this week? Yikes.
I mean, I'd be okay as a flex option. I mean, he's done well historically when he's been healthy with Dak. I wouldn't want to start him as anything above a wide receiver 3.
What about Fireball Jones? Wouldn't you rather play him over Michael Gallup? I mean, I know that he has Sutton already
probably
in there, but like, so would you ever run 2 wide receivers on the same NFL team on your roster? Would you like put both of them in your starting lineup?
Not if I have any chance, unless it's like Amari Cooper and CD or like 2 of the Bucs receivers. If it's 2 top end guys, maybe, but even then it's tough because you're basically like disappointed no matter what happens.
Okay. No, that's fair. So you think all of Ben's players are the correct play then?
Yeah, that's where I would keep it. He's just kind of stuck with.
What about Russell Gage? Wouldn't you want to put Russell? I would play Russell Gage before I play Michael Gallup. But at least Russell Gage is the number 1 wide out there. So it's like, you know, Michael Gallup is the number 3 at best. So I mean, I'd even put what's the tight end out there? Is that Dan Arnold? Is that right?
In Atlanta?
Dallas.
Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz. I'm sorry. Yes, Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
He has a better chance of getting more targets than what Michael Gallup does at this point, I believe. So
yeah. I would probably go with him Gage over Gallup, but I mean it's close. I think they both are very. Gallup probably has had his better chance of being in like the middle of the pack, whereas Gage is going to either get you like 2 points or he can get you like 10, just because he's had really not like 1 or 2 good weeks all season too. So it's not a great option either or, but
cool. Right on. We are sitting at 1 hour and 17 minutes, even with our little hiccup in there. So that's not a bad ep, man. So that's pretty good. So
yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for watching and supporting our show. I actually want to give a few shout outs here real quick. Just to give some love out to some people. I want people to go and find the Fantasy Football Hacks podcast on YouTube. Follow them, subscribe to them, do whatever. They are an excellent show to watch. I'd also recommend you guys go watch the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast along with The Land. You can find those 2 podcasts on just the podcast apps. You might be able to find the Hidden Oaks Overdose on YouTube, but they don't live stream anymore. But those guys have supported our program by helping us out or mentioning us on a regular basis. And I just wanted to say thank you to those guys, and I appreciate everything that they've done. And, I just wanted to return the favor and say, go check them out. They are definitely worth a listen and a watch. So, Jack, how did your other fantasy teams do this week? Do you just want to quickly go on it, or?
Yeah, real quick. In the Champions League, Superflex League, I am officially the number 1 seed. Been dominating that one. In the Best Ball League, I am number 2, but I'm struggling. I lost Derrick Henry, Calvin Ridley, some top end guys, and I can't make any moves to fix it. So that's going to be tough. Back-to-back wins in my Dynasty League, or our Dynasty League, after starting the season pretty rough. So I'm hoping I can climb out of the cellar. I don't know about making the playoffs, but at least make a little bit of a push. And I am currently still alive in guillotine and in the top 9.
Woo! There you go. All right. Yesterday I made a big trade with Tyler in our Dynasty League. I traded away DJ Moore, next year's first round draft pick, and 2023's first round draft pick for Ezekiel Elliott. I am trying to go back to back in our Empire League, which would give me all of the money and it would restart our league. So for everybody who is in the Deflate These Balls Dynasty League, I am going for the championship, and I come at me with trade offers because I just want to load up and just take you all to the woodshed out back and have my way. Whatever. I'm gonna edit all of that out. That was weird and cringe. I don't have anything else. Jack, do you have any final thoughts before we get the hell on out of here?
No, not a whole lot. I think we covered it all pretty well.
Sweet. All right, hour 20 minutes, we're done. So that's pretty much gonna be it. So I'm just gonna play a little bit of music here and ooh, I like that fade. That's a nice little fade there, huh? Hey, what's up, everybody? How we doing? Hey, we had somebody who just subscribed to our podcast, which is sweet right off the rip. So thank you, Adam. I'm not gonna say your last name, but that's freaking sweet, man. Hey, I really appreciate that. You joined my stream. That's awesome. We are. I'm sorry, our stream. That is. I'm just gonna get this started. So let's go. This is the Victorious COD. We are a fantasy football podcast and live stream. We come to you every single week on Thursday nights. Do we have a set designated time? No, not really, but it's generally gonna be around this time. So it's all good. So I just want to say hello out there to everybody, and I want to say hi to Jack. Jack, say hello to all the beautiful people out there in the internets. Well, now we are in 2021, and there are no ugly people out there in the world. And if there are, and you say that, you will be canceled immediately. So I want to thank you all for coming out. Yeah, it's over for us, even before we ever got started. All right, we are the Victorious POD, a fantasy football live stream and podcast. We would like to say thank you to all of our donors. And I'm actually echoing. Hold on one here in a second. I just got to mute myself. All right, we're muted. Okay. Special thanks to all of our donors. You can donate to us at www.streamlabs.com/thevictoriouspod. Special thanks to Levi Oki. He created all of our beautiful artwork that you see here. And if you're looking to follow Levi Oki, you can find him on Instagram at Levi Oki Illustrations on Instagram. Catch up on chat here real quick. We have the Fantasy Football Hacks podcast saying, "Sup, nerds? What is up?" We will get to you guys here in a little bit for sure. Where I just want to say where you can find us, you can obviously find us here on YouTube every Thursday night, like I stated earlier. You can also find us on all of our on all of the popular podcast places. So go there. You can go to www.anchor.fm/the Victorious POD, I believe it is. I don't even know my own website. That's pretty embarrassing. But yeah, go there. You can leave us a voicemail and you can check out everything related to our podcast. Jack, how are we doing this